You have probably been told your whole life that heart disease is about what you eat. Too much fat, too much salt, too much sugar. And yes, those things matter. But a landmark study from the European Heart Journal tracked over 80,000 adults for more than a decade and found something that stopped researchers cold. The #1 modifiable risk factor for silent cardiac damage had nothing to do with diet. It was a habit so ordinary, so accepted, so woven into modern life that most people do it every single day without a second thought. In the next few minutes, I will break down exactly what this habit does to your arterial walls, why your heart is already compensating for it right now, and what the biological tipping point looks like before symptoms ever appear. Before you go any further, if you care about what is happening inside your chest while you sleep, while you sit, while you live your life, hit subscribe. This channel exists to hand you the science your doctor does not have time to explain. Now, let us talk about what is actually killing you slowly. The habit is chronic, unbroken sitting. Not laziness, not occasional rest. Chronic, sustained, metabolically disengaged stillness for 6 or more hours per day. And before you say you exercise, hear this. Research published in the Annals of Internal Medicine showed that even people who hit the gym daily were not protected if they spent the rest of their waking hours sedentary. Exercise does not cancel sitting. That is not how your biology works. Here is the mechanism, and it matters that you understand it visually. Your bloodstream is supposed to behave like a fast-moving river, constantly flowing, creating what scientists call shear stress against your arterial walls. That shear stress is not a bad thing. It is actually the signal your endothelium, the thin cellular lining inside every artery, uses to stay healthy and flexible. When you sit for hours at a time, blood flow in your lower body slows to almost nothing. The river becomes a swamp, and without that mechanical signal, your endothelial cells begin to dysfunction. They stop producing nitric oxide, the molecule that keeps your arteries relaxed and open. Without nitric oxide, your vessels tighten. Your blood pressure creeps up. Inflammation begins to accumulate along the arterial walls like rust on a pipe you forgot to drain before winter. The first victim is your largest artery. The aorta is not just a tube. It is an active, pressure-absorbing structure that expands and contracts with every single heartbeat. Studies show that endothelial dysfunction, triggered by prolonged inactivity, begins measurably in as little as 1 hour of continuous sitting. 1 hour. After 3 hours, the femoral artery, the major vessel running through your thigh, shows a reduction in its flow-mediated dilation by as much as 50%. That means the artery's ability to widen in response to demand is cut in half. Your heart is now working harder to push blood through a narrower passage. And it does this quietly, without pain, without warning, without any signal you would even notice. The second system that fails is your lipid clearance. Here is the biology most people have never heard. Your muscles, when they are contracting, produce an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase. This enzyme is essentially your body's fat processing crew, actively pulling triglycerides out of your bloodstream and converting them into fuel. When you sit for hours, lipoprotein lipase activity in your leg muscles drops by almost 80%. The fat processing crew clocks out. Triglycerides accumulate in the blood. And triglycerides, when chronically elevated, are one of the primary fuels for arterial plaque formation.
Should it rupture,
you are not eating
the
your
lipid
way
core
to heart
beneath could
disease
trigger-
right now. You are sitting your way there. The irony is almost cruel. The third domino is your autonomic nervous system. Your heart rate and blood pressure are not fixed numbers. They are constantly modulated by a balance between your sympathetic nervous system, the gas pedal, and your parasympathetic nervous system, the brake. Prolonged sitting shifts this balance towards sympathetic dominance. Your body reads stillness as low-level stress. Cortisol, the stress hormone, rises. Heart rate variability, one of the most accurate predictors of long-term cardiac health, begins to decrease. A lower heart rate variability means your heart has less flexibility, less ability to respond efficiently to demands. Research from the Mayo Clinic associates poor heart rate variability not just with cardiovascular risk, but with increased risk of sudden cardiac events. And here is the twisted irony. The more sedentary your lifestyle, the more sitting feels comfortable. Your nervous system recalibrates around inactivity. Your biology adapts to a lower baseline. You feel fine because your body has stopped expecting more. The fourth mechanism is inflammation, the slow fire inside. When you sit for extended periods, your muscles produce almost none of the anti-inflammatory myokines they release during movement. Myokines are chemical messengers your muscle tissue secretes when it contracts, and one of their primary jobs is to suppress systemic inflammation. Without them, inflammatory markers like interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein begin to rise. Chronic low-grade inflammation is not dramatic. You will not feel it. But in your arteries, it is quietly thickening the walls, stiffening the plaques, and recruiting immune cells that turn a minor buildup into a volatile, rupture-prone lesion. A heart attack, in most cases, is not caused by a gradual blockage finally closing off. It is caused by a plaque that looked stable until it did not. Inflammation is what makes stable plaques unstable. So what do you do? Because knowledge without action is just anxiety. First, break up your sitting every 45 to 60 minutes. You do not need a gym. You need 2 minutes of standing, walking, or even slow marching in place. That is enough to reactivate lipoprotein lipase and restore measurable blood flow to your femoral artery. Set an alarm if you have to. Treat it like a biological reset button, because that is exactly what it is. Second, watch your resting heart rate trend over weeks, not days. A consistently rising resting heart rate is an early signal of autonomic imbalance. Track it with a basic wearable or even manually. If it is trending up without explanation, that is your body asking you to move more. Third, tell your doctor your daily sitting hours as precisely as you would describe your diet. Most physicians do not ask, but sedentary time is now considered an independent risk factor for cardiovascular events, separate from exercise levels. It belongs in your health Fourth, prioritize walking after meals. Even a 10-minute walk after eating dramatically reduces postprandial triglyceride spikes, the exact metabolic window where arterial damage accumulates fastest. This is one of the highest return, lowest effort interventions in all of cardiovascular biology. Fifth, avoid the trap of weekend compensation. Studies show that compressing your physical activity into Saturday and Sunday while remaining sedentary Monday through Friday does not neutralize the vascular damage accumulated during the week. Consistency is the variable your arteries respond to, not volume. Here is the truth your biology has been trying to tell you all along. Your heart was designed for a body that moved constantly, not one that rests between workouts. Every hour you sit, your arterial system is making adjustments. Most of those adjustments are in the wrong direction. But none of this is a sentence. It is a signal you now know how to read. Your genetics load the gun. Your chair pulls the trigger. How many hours do you sit on an average day? Be honest. Drop your number in the comments below. You might be surprised how many people are sitting in the same boat and how few of them realize it is slowly sinking. If this gave you something to think about, subscribe. New episodes of The Health Lab go up every week, and every single one is built to give you the kind of clarity that actually changes behavior. Clarity that actually changes behavior.